مرحبا أصدقائي، يوم جديد مع لعبة WarEden ومناقشة مع فريق العمل في AMA.
We are wondering what is there. There is no WarEden token.
You have to ask.
Specialist is leaking.
Yeah.
It's leaking.
Okay, now we are going to the wheel. عزيز حسنين صح؟
This is fun. You need the music, bro.
It's خطيب. Yeah, we do.
الخطيب.
I am the winner, guys.
I think like this is the real MMORPG community. Like this is why MMORPGs are great. Hello to all BAG members.
People wanted to know more about what we're calling the player-driven economy model that WarEden is providing, and what makes it so different from traditional MMORPG economies. Like, why is it different, and why is it player-driven?
The core aspect of that is in all other MMOs, you actually kill bosses and do stuff to get an item. Okay, so you kill a boss and get weapon, get gear, and stuff like that. In WarEden, there will be no way to get the final item from killing a boss or doing other stuff, because we want to focus all items and everything to be actually created by the community.
How does resource scarcity and abundance impact the in-game economy and player interactions?
We need to first split, like we have multiple kinds of resources, like the iron, tin, copper, stuff like that. And they have actually a limited amount, but it's huge amounts, so they're basically infinite. And we also have like the mana hound egg and like other special materials that actually have lower amounts. So they have what we call like a hard scarcity. That's like the limit on the blockchain itself. And the other factor is like recipes and other stuff like the professions, etc., that are actually not limited by a hard scarcity, like the final value on the blockchain, but are controlled with the probability from the game. So that probability creates scarcity, like in normal game.
I want to add something on this. We have several control points in terms of like resource management. So we are like kind of in control that some things will be like more scarce or we don't have any inflation of any item. And one of the reasons why we don't want to have our token is this, because we can have those control points with several meta materials. Right now I think that we have more than 15, so it's much easier for us to balance economy with more variables than having only one or two.
So next question is, people wanted more details on how the trading system works, particularly the mechanics behind the auction houses and direct player trades. I guess this is where we talk about the pass that you guys spoke about in the last AMA.
Yeah, let's start with that. So the thing is, it's a little bit complex, because we have to first explain like the reasoning why we didn't have direct trade and why we didn't have renting in the first place, because it actually could break our economy even harder. Let's say like in the auction house, we actually had a form of direct trade, which you PUG's members did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually intentionally let that be, like because it was fair, and that was the direct trade. And as you saw, like it quickly revolved around like only one of you getting the profession and cheaply creating stuff which lowered the value, and like it was like that economy couldn't scale. What we wanted to do with the merchant pass, like the subscription stuff, we actually wanted to increase like rewards to give like more Ethereum, more stuff, but we had to introduce a subscription to like balance that. And the subscription actually opens like all other systems, so you can use auction house, direct trade, and renting.
And whether or not there will be any mechanisms put in place to prevent any market manipulation or monopolies within the market itself.
Maybe I should talk about the ring system now, because your guys should be familiar with that. So the ring system is actually totally reworked, almost, where the point of the ring system is now like the rings give you the chance to participate in the rewarding economy. And now the rewarding economy is not like few dollars, like $1-2, but it has a list. Like you have like tiers of rewards, and those like multiple categories. So the first category would be eat, and in that category you would have like the range from $1 to $1,000, and that's gonna be governed by probability. So the second category, which ties into this monopolies and stuff like that, is actually we are removing all the recipes from the shop. So no one will be able to buy recipes, only the profession, which comes with the base recipe. All recipes will be available through that rewarding system. So if you have a ring, you also have a chance to get the recipe, random recipe for some profession. And you can also sell that recipe on the auction house or trade or stuff like that.
We need to test that. It in the beginning will be the main driver for people to like engage in the earning part of the economy and to be engaged in that, let's say, merchant passes and everything. So Stefan said that we want to have some kind of, not guaranteed, but some calculations that people can calculate if they play XYZ time in WarEden. That in the beginning we don't want to like keep any revenue. Everything we earn now, like we will reward back to the community, because like our next phase is just to prove this. The whole thesis to prove that, and after that we want to grow the audience and grow the visibility of WarEden. And once we have like economy volume where guys you can trade with other guilds and you have some competition in the market, you will, if you find like some recipe for Mana Hound and someone else wants that, and when you introduce new things like blacksmiths, etc., you will have more incentive to have merchant pass, because you will trade, because you will have a bigger community. So that's like the angle we are looking right now. So at the beginning we want to like reward people more in it.
Yeah, just to add to that quickly, like the 80% is maybe now for alpha, but that will be lower, like maybe 50% or 40, something like that.
What specific measures have you implemented to ensure that WarEden remains free from pay-to-win mechanics?
The first thing was to actually like the stuff for the recipes, like that was the first kind of step into that direction, because they are gonna be available for everyone. If they play, if they like subscribe to the game, they can get the recipes. And like even that creates kind of like, oh, this recipe is actually rare because I cannot just go into shop and buy it, and that's great. So that was like the first step, and the second step will be when we actually introduce like the real gameplay, where we have like normal MMO, RPG mechanics, stuff like that. We want to kind of flip that, like that's our idea. So like the big spenders or any like spender is actually gonna help like normal players, skilled players, stuff like that, to go to actually play the game, beat the game. So how is that gonna work? So imagine like you are like your guild, let's say. You maybe have like 10 or 20, 30 people who are actually really, really good at the game. Like they're good at PvE, they're good at beating bosses. You guys actually have the incentive to gear them up. You know, like you actually have the incentive to invest in the professions, invest in like gear, in the weapons, and give it to those players. And that actually creates a new kind of like dynamics, yeah, because in that sense, the whale is actually good for the game, because the whale actually creates, because whale can invest, like you guys, maybe you can invest, like the bosses are also gonna drop EAT, are also gonna being like that ring system, stuff like that. And you guys actually have the incentive to gear your guys so they can go and beat raids. And that creates like anti-pay to win in the guild. But we still like need to solve the problem where like in the global scale, like how pay to win is actually gonna be resolved. But also like I think like this game, we need to create an environment where like the spenders are good and the spenders actually help other people to actually beat the game together, so they can like extract the rewards and stuff like that. So that's the core idea here. Yeah.
Would you mind going into the stage chat and typing !join? Basically, we have a Discord bot that collects all the usernames of everyone that is present during this AMA, so that we put them into, like, you know, like proof of participation kind of thing, and we put them into the giveaway of the event.
Are we going to get some NFTs?
Yeah.
But guild
Like,
NFTs,
I can say that
Sure,
we are giving away something from WarEden because it's a WarEden AMA.
Okay.
they want to know about how rewards will be distributed when the dungeon's over, like based on who gets the rare item. Is it shared? Is it not shared? You know.
Yeah, so it's gonna be like the old World of Warcraft, like Master Loot, if you're familiar. So like the boss drops items, and the raid leader is gonna decide like who to give the item.
I mean, I'm like,
Well, the materials and stuff like
we
that.
will not have like.
Yeah.
When will the PvE system start? That's the most common
Yeah.
question in the guild.
Yeah, of course. What I can say for sure is that it will go in stages. So maybe even like in Alpha 2 or 3, like we are gonna have like the most basic PvE stuff, so we can start building. Yeah. So
Can I add on the top of this? Like,
Yeah.
We were focused on something that is crucial for our business, and that's economy. How to make it sustainable and how to make like it can last. And with merchant pass and everything, like I think that we resolved it. We want to test that in Alpha 0. After we confirm that is like that works, and I believe it's going to work because it makes perfect sense for us. After that, we will start introducing more content because our economy actually in business is needed like more content. But we didn't want to focus on things that are just like features without having a healthy foundation we can build on top of.
But we don't have an expected date, right? Like in
well,
in 2025, second quarter, soon.
Yeah, because like it depends on this guy here. So I will help him out and say like it's going to happen soon.
the thing is, like, I saw and I like was in a lot of MMO, like Kickstarter, stuff like that. I follow, like, I'm in the MMO space for like 15 plus years. I saw a lot of stuff, and a lot of that was like promising dynamic PvE, like dynamic combat, stuff like that. We don't want that because it's actually really like with latency and stuff like that, it's really impossible. And I actually think that like if you complicate a lot PvE and like the actual combat and actual like that stuff, it's gonna backfire, and that's gonna like prolong the game and prolong like our development and other stuff. So in terms of PvE and actual like combat, it's gonna be like World of Warcraft. Like that's our bottom line, and it's gonna focus more on older World of Warcraft combat. So maybe like Cataclysm, that era. So, and also the bosses and raids and mechanics. They're actually not gonna be like ultra important for us because we actually want to create like the community plays. So you guys actually gear up for the dungeon, prepare, like do some. Maybe those dungeons are not gonna even be available for all players. Like maybe you are gonna first need to complete some rare quests, like get some item, unlock the dungeon, prepare the dungeon, do multiple stuff. And then when you go into dungeon, like you always have the access to that dungeon and you can grind it like weekly or like, let's say weekly for now. And the actual mechanic will not be ultra complicated. Like we cannot compete with Blizzard on that, and we don't want to compete on that.
When you want to take us back to the Catalyst era of World of Warcraft, you're talking about like easy to kill mobs with big quantities where you just go hack and slash through them instead of hard to kill mobs. And
no, it's actually gonna be the opposite, because I hate like that AoE like grind fast and stuff like that. That's more Diablo style, like you go in and hack and slash. Yeah, so it's not gonna be like that. My point was like, if you ever played like Wrath of the Lich King, and like when the Ulduar came out, like the player count was going down. And why is that? Because it directly correlates with like, if the raid is really, really hard, a lot of people will not complete it. And that's a fact. And you can also like check that with the data and everything else. But what's like more important is to involve as much people as we can in that content, but the content will be, let's say, locked. So you cannot just go into raid like that. You just can't like go, oh yeah, find me a group, it's gonna group you and teleport you, and you like roll it and get the loot. So you actually need to prepare for that, do maybe some, in World of Warcraft it was called attunements, like when you need to complete some stuff, you have a progression. And the actual boss is gonna have like few mechanics, so you actually just learn those few mechanics and you will be able to kill it. Like that's not a big deal. And we also think like, if you start complicating the mechanics of the bosses, it's gonna turn like into balancing that for like a really, really small amount of players, which is actually counterproductive. And you actually see that now in World of Warcraft, because if you play the current version, like the mythic dungeons and like the highest levels of raids, I think maybe a few percent of people completed that. And that's why they like need to have a different versions. They need to have like different versions. But in all the World of Warcraft, you don't have like, maybe you have 2 versions max. And when they like started going into Ulduar, player dropped. And also when Cataclysm came out, I think like, that's my opinion, that's why players actually dropped, because the game was getting harder. That was the actual reason, not like the game was like worse than the previous versions.
so skill trees, are we gonna see skill trees, character skills, leveling of different skills? How is this gonna go?
Before that, I just want to say that like we are focused on like milestones in terms of like how we can compete like with big studios, and like everything is actually fully transparent, and like just releasing our like updates and what we are doing, what we've done with Alpha 0 and now with Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, etc. Because we want to be fully transparent with community, so community can see the progress around everything. So when we talk about like PvE, etc., like we will release those like versions in part, like iterations, and we will try and give our best to listen to feedback from community. So like that's something that I want to say before going further, because when we talk about like dungeons and like PvE things, etc., like from my perspective as a CEO, it's like we need like a lot of steps to go in that direction, but also it's very important to have like vision, how it should be done and how it should be like when it's delivered, how it should look like. So just wanted to emphasize that as like our way of communicating with the community that's something that is very important, and we want to like release all our versions to be tested.
Yeah, so skill trees. Of course, we are of course gonna have skill trees because it's an MMO, right? And what I also want to add to that is like I always try to explain it, but maybe I'm not like explaining it good enough. So I'm gonna try once more. So I actually want to try a new way to play, like to approach like how you actually play dungeons and raids, because I also think like every other MMO never tried to do it that way. And what I mean by that is like even in World of Warcraft, most like you only play a few dungeons, like the most high end, and lower dungeons you play maybe once or twice, and that's that. Like you have that content, and that content is forever wasted. Like you never go back. So what we want to try is actually try to make as much as we can, like as much content as we can to be replayable. And why I mean by that, so we won't have traditional leveling system where you like create complete quests, gain levels, stuff like that, but it's more gonna be like well, it's still gonna we still don't have like a clear vision on that, but what's for certain is that we are gonna split the progression. So the first part is actually the permanent progression, where you have your permanent stats, your permanent skill points, your permanent spells, and that's like your base. So you level that. And each time you get into the raid or get into the dungeon, you start your second progression, which is like a temporary progression. Like those are the skill trees, talent points, spells and stuff like that you will lose after the dungeon and after the raid. But you can actually like choose each time when you play, you can like play differently. So you can adapt to like certain circumstances and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's like the best comparison would be like when you play a game of League of Legends, you can actually like each game you have your like permanent stats, and then the whole game is like temporary progression through something. So it's we want to introduce actually a lot of like roguelike elements to dungeons and raids, and that's what we'll try. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the crafting part. So how integral are crafting and gathering professions to the overall gameplay and economy? Okay. I guess the player, what we really want to ask is how the crafting system is gonna work, other than the fact that we already know about the rings. You already told us about how we're gonna craft those rings, but how it's gonna expand, how it's gonna affect the economy and the prices, all that stuff. Would you mind telling us more about that?
In this game, crafting and gathering, like especially the crafting part, is the most important part. Like it's gonna expand in the terms of like gears and weapons. So you now collect like the mithril, iron ore, stuff like that. And right now we don't have a lot of like other professions which are directly tied in the gameplay, but we will have like
we have only horse actually.
Yeah, actually it's only a horse, but like later when PvE comes out and stuff like that, like all the gear in the game and all the weapons in the game, even the legendary weapons, like everything will be crafted. So everything you gather and everything like you build up, it's gonna like be in those systems. So it's gonna tie like there.
Yes, and you ask about the prices. Like I think that definitely will have some like, let's say, disruptions in terms of prices. If, for example, introduce something new that requires iron, but like we will keep it aligned and keep it stable in the best possible way. And also what we are doing, you can recognize in the recipes, we are introducing like new materials that are like required for like some certain item. I'm just like throwing something out of my mind. For example, you can put like black iron, you know, for some special sword. So we have control that we will not disrupt like other iron that are already distributed to the world. But like I just like said, don't write this anywhere. But just want to say like how our control system works, and also also this is alpha stage. So basically, I think that community will benefit because like as we had like the situation with horse spirits, you know, like we didn't expect that horse spirits will be like so how to say like valuable, and like people will gather them pretty often. We knew that it's going to happen that often, but we didn't know that it's going to be so valuable. But now in Alpha 1 we will like decrease the spawning of horses. So basically guys that were involved in like the Alpha 0 had benefits in terms of like exploiting our economy in a way, if that makes sense. And if we make mistake, like we did, for example, with jewel crafting rare rings, you know, like we will compensate that, which is very important. We will try and for community, especially for early adopters, not to have any consequences in a negative way.
I actually think like this game is actually going to be played mostly in like by guilds. Like I actually think a lot of players are gonna group into guilds, so the guild will be like a home to a lot of players because it will offer a lot of benefits in my view, because the guild can like build their bank, they can collect a lot of like items, resources, all of that stuff. And if you're a solo player, like you can actually play the game, but the most benefits you are gonna get if you join the guild. So I think that's the way to play WarEden. And I actually think also if it's guild play, it's gonna also boost the economy because the guilds are gonna trade like between other guilds, and like if there is like some very very good sword or like good gear, all the guilds will be
in need
for that stuff, and it's actually gonna boost the price, and I think everything is gonna be higher if like it's in that way versus the solo players and scattering and stuff like that.
Who is the best guild in WarEden?
Pretty obvious.
Sounds like Khatib's question. With the blockchain integration itself, and how does blockchain play a role in the WarEden's economy and
itself?
Okay, I will answer that. It's definitely to go to the toilet. Like, well, generally, like everything we spoke about right now in the economy sense is not possible without using blockchain. Why? Because when you become like a blacksmith, it's like you have a smart contract that proves that you're like owner of like blacksmith shop. Also, all trades are written in a smart contract, so like it's not like in World of Warcraft you need to trade with some items on eBay, you know. So basically, the essence of our economy is blockchain. So I can speak more, especially when we come to like ETH rewarding. So basically, we are like fully blockchain game. Everything is transparent. Also, like I know that you guys have some features for Alpha 1 where you can like track what is spawned, what is not. So like that's the beauty of a blockchain. And also how I see that, like maybe in 3 or 4 or 5 years, you know, I like to ask questions to people when I spoke with about WarEden. World of Warcraft generated almost 10 billion in revenues. Like, what would happen if like those 10 billions were like, let's say, 4 billions were rewarded back to community, and the economy value would probably be higher than GDP in my country. So like that's like for me like and that's you know like something that I see as a you know like end game of having that mechanics that is powered by blockchain, you know.
In the doc and in the chat lately a lot is system requirements. What are the minimum and recommended specs for WarEden?
Yeah, so right now we still have like to do more stuff about the optimization because it's an open world game and stuff like that, even though the graphics is like old school. Like the open world is actually what is heavy in WarEden. So I think the minimum requirements are written somewhere. I need to check them again. But AMD graphics is gonna be supported. Like it's an issue like in our model loading. So you have a 3D model in the game. Like we have a pipeline to load that model, and on AMD it's weird. It doesn't work for some reason, but not for all AMD. But we actually have hardware in the office right now where we reproduce the problem so we can fix it. Yeah. So
Let's go straight to pets because that's the one you haven't answered yet. So are we going to get more pets like wolves, birds, or like, and will they affect our stats? Will we get more stats out of the pets themselves?
yeah, well, we can actually tie that into community involvement because we also like we have a lot of ideas, but also like the community also has a lot of ideas, and I think already we saw a lot of benefits for WarEden for community involvement. So yeah, so pets, well, if you mean by mounts, like you're riding now the horse and stuff like
pets.
Or
No,
pets
no,
that accompany you.
Yeah.
No, I get it, but like maybe that can be one and the same, like maybe you can ride your pet or something like that. So yeah, so in World of Warcraft only 2 classes have pets, like the Warlock and the Hunter, but we can always like pick if we want to, like maybe every class to have a pet. But also then the question would be if the pet is like free, or is it like tied to a profession, or is it like it get more involved. But from the pure gameplay side, I think it would be better like to keep pet specific stuff to certain class, or like fantasy like requirements.
Like a beast tamer.
Yeah, you can keep it for certain class and have a profession. If you are a wizard,
Yeah.
you need to have this
No,
profession.
for sure, but like
Yeah, yes.
I just don't. Yeah, just the question would be if that's like pay to win or not. Like that's the core question. So
You said all the profession will be dropped in the game, right? So it's
no,
not
no.
completely-
Professions will be bought, but recipes for professions will be dropped from the game. But
Yeah.
it's almost the same, you know.
Yeah,
You will have only the core profession available on, like, let's say, our shop.
So after the opal ring was cancelled, which was the rare ring, right? And so what will we use the opal for? Like the opal ore that we were farming?
yeah,
we have
so,
a lot of opal in Bagil, so
We do.
what is
yeah,
the use
don't
of
worry,
opal?
don't worry. Opal will still be used for this ring, so this is just like the new recipe for the new ring, but opal will be used for this ring. So yeah, so we are merging like the common ring and the rare ring into one ring. So that's like the idea.
All right. There can only be one ring. Apparently, that's what we're.
To rule them all.
Alpha Zero airdrop. I think Mr. Bakisha mentioned that will be an airdrop for the Alpha Zero player. We are wondering what is the airdrop. There is no WarEden token.
You
So
have
what
class-
is the airdrop?
Specialist is leaking.
Yeah.
It's leaking.
Yeah, like
I have no idea.
like we can like, well we speak internally about this. Like we want to like make some, let's say, limited NFTs that will just be like, you know, like badge that you're like Alpha Zero, and also like, you know, like we can speak about it, you know, like you can propose anything. Like we're more than happy just to make everyone happy. They played.
I love that. Yeah, I love that idea. We can make a proposal about this. Yeah, it's
Yeah, like make a proposal like what you guys will be happy with. We can negotiate, if needed.
yeah.
We were so convinced the whole time that everybody started theory crafting. We have like 10,000 theories made by bag members to what the airdrop might be, or some said, oh, they're gonna double our resources. Some said, no, it's based on the rarity. If this resource is too rare, they're not
if
gonna
you
double
get
it.
this,
Honestly,
you will get it
we
in-
haven't thought about it that deep. We were thinking how to make subscriptions work.
No, we have talked very deep
We
on that.
understand.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
But we did the homework, so just say, just propose and we can negotiate from that.
And you can say your theory was correct, yeah.
Yeah. Before we finish this meeting, this lovely meeting, we have a very important question. When is Alpha 1?
You can always say soon.
No, I can say
No, soon. No, soon.
no soon.
Yeah,
Honestly, I'm expecting that to be by the end of next week. But we will not introduce the new zone because we had some changes. We will introduce it within, let's say, 10 days or 2 weeks. But we want to test as soon as possible merchant passes from on the existing community, just to see if everything works. Because the blockchain developer goes on a holiday on Tuesday, so he needs to finish everything up to Tuesday, So that's the answer. And after that, week after that, we are planning to introduce the new zone. And the new zone is really, really cool.
Yes, you can open the server now. I can test the subscription. I have some ETH. I can swap it to USDT and try if the subscription works well or not. Just open the server now. I can do it.
Easy guy. If you convince
We
him, I'm fine, but convince him and I'm,
So we can expect the Alpha 1 in the next 10 days.
Yeah. I think that if something, something big occurs, some problems, we will say, but I don't think it's going to be anything big, because we have when we introduce the new parties on the blockchain side. So we've been working on that. As I said, blockchain developer goes to a holiday, so we need to finish that before he goes there.
Okay, now we are going to the wheel. عزيز حسنين صح؟
This is fun.
Yeah.
Let me.
ايوه حسنين. طيب I will start in Arabic, then we will translate to English for you guys. اليوم هنعمل سحب على حصانين في لعبة وارايدين. اللي بيطلع له الحصان بيستلمه ان شاء الله مع بداية السيزون الجاي. الحصانين هذول بما انه AMA عن وارايدين فحتكون الجائزة من جوا وارايدين. الأحصنة زي ما انتم عارفين اسعارها تتراوح بين 60 إلى 70 دولارا، ربما تسوى اكثر او اقل في السيزون الجاي، احنا ما بنعرف. حبينا بس عشان حضوركم الجميل نعمل هدية خفيفة لطيفة من باك.
Alright, Stefan,
translate
your time has not gone to waste, because now you have a chance to actually win a common horse spirit, bro. Actually have a chance to win one. Alright.
That's
I hope
nice.
you guys are ready, because we're giving away 2 common horse spirits in WarEden, and the first one of the night goes towards...
You need the music, bro.
الخطيب. Yeah, we do.
الخطيب.
I am the winner, guys.
Oh, all people.
لا عمل ريموف وريسبنت
Pass,
للجيل.
pass.
ما انا
Pass,
مش
respin.
Respin it.
Pass and
Yeah.
respin. He's too much of a whale.
Rig,
He's too much of a
rig.
whale. Rig. Zamir.
مين زمير؟
هو الزمير.
Zamir is Zamur.
هذا من خالته لسمير.
لا هي. Second horse of the night goes towards last giveaway. Oh, it was almost me. Fadi.
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 is the winner.
Congrats.
Yes.
Nice.
He's one of the players in WarEden. He will win.
Congrats, guys.
Congrats.
I need to say a fun thing, because they need to have merchant pass so they can like receive that reward.
It's okay, we can do
we'll
it.
cover it.
Matt can do it. Don't worry,
Matt
don't
can
worry.
cover it. Don't worry about it.
We'll make some money, boys. 30 bucks.
30 bucks. No, it's not 30 bucks, it's 45. The guild account will buy a recipe and both of them will buy a recipe. It's 45 bucks. Nice.
Yeah, 45 because
45, yeah.
3 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
well, easy.
We will give away to community, so
We know. So out of those 45, you'll keep maybe $5. So okay.
That's great.
Okay, so that was it for tonight. Thank you so much for dropping by, Stefan, Urus. Pleasure to see you as always, and thank you for answering all the questions. ميرسي لك الشباب اللي حضروا وميرسي على الايفنت الحلو. خلصنا كل الكويستشنات وما ضل في شيء بقى نجاوب عليه. So I guess that's a wrap for tonight. Is there anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to add before we leave?
yeah, I just want to say thank you. Like we really enjoyed it. Like you're so like honest with the approach, and like we really feel blessed to have you. But I'm not like speaking something that I don't think. So we really feel blessed that we have you guys, and I don't know, like it encourages us to like pursue our crazy idea to create World of Warcraft, because we are still little studio that wants to fit the the biggest company in the world. So you're like the reason that we have like courage to keep pursuing that. So thanks.
You can encourage us by opening the server.
And we'll encourage you by playing. It's just keeps going.
Well, I actually will have to open it so you can give the forest like to the guys. So
Yeah. It's okay. We can wait
It's okay.
till Alpha
we will
1,
actually
but
buy
we
them
hope to
passes
be
even if
fast.
they-
yeah. So just to say, like, I think like this is the real MMORPG community. Like this is why MMORPGs are great. Like we are building a huge community here, and Bug will always be like a huge part of it because you guys are like the first guild here. And I hope for the best for Alpha 1, and I can't wait for PV and raids and the fun stuff for the MMOs. So I hope you will guys be here for that part when that part comes.
We will be here. Don't worry.
We're always good.
We will take all the Ethereum from WarEden. Don't worry.
We'll always be here. That's for sure. And Suze,
Thank you. Have a pleasant weekend.
Yeah.
likewise. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.